Good evening and welcome to Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today we have a topic that is going to touch you. It's going to be something that a lot of us are going to be able to just relate to because we actually go through it. Today we're going to talk about overcoming the fear of public speaking. Some people, they say that some people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. That's how big and great the fear of public speaking actually is. But what if I told you that fear isn't a sign that you can't do it? It's proof that you care about doing it well. So tonight we're going to delve into that right here on Born to Speak to You TV, and we'll be right back. Let's go.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. And man, we are happy to present this topic today. As an actor in the theater, as a professional speaker, I've always had to deal with fear. Okay, fear of speaking, fear of people judging, fear of just being judged. And today we're going to talk about what that actual fear actually looks like, what it feels like, and I'm going to give you some tips that hopefully will help you put that fear into its right component and use it to your advantage. Again, some people say it's the biggest fear in the world, the fear of public speaking. We're going to explore why our bodies react the way that they do, why fear doesn't really help you, but more importantly, how you can face it and when. So let's understand what the fear is. What's happening when we get scared to speak? We're going to talk about the physical and psychological reactions that our body goes through. Okay? Sometimes when you're called to speak, your heart will immediately start pounding. Your body thinks that you're in danger, and adrenaline starts to flood your system. You get shaky hands and shaky voice. Your body's preparing to fight or flight. Fight or flight. Just imagine if you turned around and saw a big grizzly bear behind you with its paws outstretched and is growling. Your body would go through the same thing. Do you stay there and fight with it, or do you try to run? That's the fight or flight. Another symptom of fear is your mouth gets dry. It shuts down the production of saliva. Okay, you get that dry mouth. And if you are trying to think of something, if you're trying to remember what you have to say, you could blank out. You could blank out. It's happened to me plenty of times on stage. Your brain temporarily just shuts down and it redirects that energy from memory to survival. See, the key point to take away is that your body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a bear and giving a speech, but you do, okay? And you can teach your body to follow your lead. Let's talk a little bit about why that fear doesn't help you. Fear creates self-fulfilling failure. Self-fulfilling failure. Fear makes you focus on yourself instead of your message or your audience. I'm going to say that one more time because this is a very important point. Fear makes you focus on yourself rather than your message or your audience. I have been on stage in several plays, especially in the beginning of my acting career, and I just was so overcome with fear that I was worrying about myself. How am I looking? How am I going to sound? Once I learned that I need to make a connection with this audience, I have something to tell this audience, and they want to hear from me. It's important for me to give them what I have to give them in this scene that I'm in. I was able to put the fear behind me and let the character that I was playing stand out. Also, when you can deal with fear like this, it shrinks your confidence. It limits your expression. It wastes energies that you could be using to connect. So always try to take a deep breath. Okay, focus yourself and remember it's not about you. It's about what you are there to do, and that is give something to the audience. Fear whispers that you're not ready, but courage is doing it anyway. And it's funny because that came up in my devotion today. Fear whispers that you're not ready, but courage, real courage, is doing it even though you are afraid. The next thing we want to move into is how to lessen your fear. How to lessen your fear. Here's some techniques that I know work. Breathing from your diaphragm, okay? In the middle of your stomach there, try the 4-4-4 breathing. Okay, you're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. What that's going to do is going to reset your nervous system, and it's going to allow your heart rate to slow down. And that is very important. You want to do that before you get on the stage, of course. Okay, that's going to help you settle down backstage or before you come out for your scene or before you come out to even speak and you're introduced. Try breathing from your diaphragm. Also, reframe your mindset. Instead of saying, I'm nervous or I'm excited, because your body's going to react to both of those sentences. Try to replace that fear with purpose. Say something like, I'm here to share something valuable. I'm here to make a difference in somebody's life. Somebody out there needs to hear what I'm about to say, and I'm going to deliver for them. Also, try to visualize your success. Instead of visualizing people looking at you, try to imagine what it's going to feel like when you hear the applause at the end. See yourself walking confidently across that stage, speaking clearly and smiling at your audience. Visualize that in your head. Visualize your success. And when you practice, 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 practice. That's part of the 3 P's: preparation, practice, and preparation. When you practice, practice aloud. Try speaking your words so you can hear them, so you can hear and process what you're saying. I suggest trying it in front of a mirror. This way you can smile at yourself. You can work on your facial expressions. You can work on your hand gestures. So practice aloud. Record yourself or practice in front of a mirror as much as you can. Now, let's say that you've made it out in front of the audience, okay? And everybody's looking at you. And you're starting to feel that nervousness in your stomach. You know the feeling I'm talking about. Try to focus on one friendly face. Look for someone that's nodding or speak to them until you relax. Make that one-on-one contact with that person. Hopefully not somebody in the very first row. I think that it's always better to try to find somebody at least 3 rows back if possible, but not the very first person in the first row. Smile at them. Imagine yourself just having a conversation with them. Talk to them and watch the nervousness ease out of your body, and it become easier to remember, easier to focus on what you're doing, and then you can move on to maybe someone else. When you're presenting, when you're giving a speech, ground yourself physically, ground yourself, put your feet on the floor, stand tall, roll your shoulders back, correct your posture if you have to, stand up straight. I sometimes tell my actors when I was directing in the theater, put your feet in cement. Okay, the only thing that you can move from that point is your torso. So you're kind of like a robot. You're moving. You can move your hands, but your legs are not moving. Okay, that's what you want to do. You want to ground yourself physically. This will make sure that you're not shaking. Your legs are not moving. You don't appear nervous to the audience. And once you can focus in on them and they are focusing in on you, that's the connection you're trying to make. I have a personal story for you. And this is a story that happened to me early when I was at my one of the first Toastmaster meetings. I was confident walking in until I realized that I was going to have to speak. It was my turn to speak. My palms got sweaty. My throat was dry. I got nauseous. I felt like I was going to throw up. My heart was racing. I felt like I had just run a marathon. I wanted to leave, but I stayed. And when I stood up, I stumbled through the first few words and I forgot part of my speech and I laughed awkwardly. And I thought everyone was judging me. But then something amazing happened. I was able to get through most of it, and people started smiling. They clapped. They gave me applause. They encouraged me. And I realized that the only power that fear had, I gave it to it. I gave fear the power over me. So by the time I sat down, I wasn't embarrassed. I was relieved and proud that it was over. I was proud that I was able to get through it. And from that day on, I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's speaking while your heart is still racing. That's the true meaning of courage. In the face of fear, it's continuing on. It's speaking while you still are nervous, while your hands are still sweaty. And if I had not faced that moment, Born to Speak to You TV wouldn't even exist. Fear tried to stop me, but speaking freed me. Yes. Fear tried to stop me, but speaking freed me. So we're going to take a little break right here. And when we come back, we're going to delve more into stage fright of public speaking right here on Born to Speak to You TV. We'll be right back. Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV, and here is the segment we like to call Born to Rise. I often get asked, how do I get motivated? What motivates me? Well, I want to let you know that your biggest source of motivation are your own thoughts. So think big. The bigger you think, the more you can motivate yourself, not only to win, but to help somebody else, to make your dreams turn into goals, turn into success. So the biggest source of motivation is right up here. Your own thoughts. Own them, embrace them, love them because they're yours, and motivate yourself.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today we're talking about stage fright. Stage fright, the fear of speaking in public and what's holding you back. I have a little presentation. This is from one of my workshops, and this is called Overcoming the Stage Fright of Public Speaking. When we talk about stage fright of public speaking, there's a lot of things that go into it. For example, you're required to give a speech or report, and you may speak all the time. You may have practiced, you know your topic, but what are you afraid of? What are you really afraid of? What is making you nervous? If you're an expert in the field and you have practiced your speech, you know the topic of your speech, what are you really afraid of? Well, some people are afraid of failure. Failure. They don't want to get up there and make a fool of themselves and have people laughing at them and looking at them and saying, oh, so-and-so just wasn't ready. Forgetting your lines, forgetting what you have to say when you don't have notes and cards in front of you, you don't have a script in front of you, you're just speaking and you forget what you have to say. Well, if you practice correctly, you'll know that you can always use what we call the hamburger technique. You're going to have your opening, you're going to have 3 points in the middle, and then you're going to have your closing. Okay? When you think of a hamburger, you think of top bun. Maybe the middle is your lettuce, tomato, and your meat. And then the bottom bun is bread, like the top bun. So you know that bread is bread. The bottom, the conclusion, is going to have some of what you said in the beginning, plus some of what you put in the middle. Okay, that's going to help you remember your lines. If you forget your lines anywhere, any one of those 3 points, you can always just move on to the next point and keep it moving. Oftentimes, if you don't let the audience know that you forgot a line, they will never know. They will never know. Sometimes people are just afraid of all audiences. It doesn't matter if they're co-workers. It doesn't matter if they are people that they've never seen before. It doesn't matter if these are members of your Toastmasters club. People are just afraid of all audiences. And there's some people that's only afraid of specific audiences. If I have to speak in front of, let's say, a community of people that I've never spoken in front of before, people that don't look like me, okay? Sometimes specific audiences will cause you to sweat, make you feel inadequate. And then there's a fear of rejection. Fear of rejection. You see, rejection is a feeling that people are going to say you're not good enough. You don't know what you're talking about. But if you have prepared, truly worked it out, truly put everything into memorizing what you have to say, getting your bullet points, knowing your hamburger technique of building your speech, then rejection is something that you don't even have to worry about. The same thing with not being good enough. Well, if you're good enough to stand up there and give them the nuggets that you have to give them, don't worry about if you're good enough or not. Your job is to get up there and be good enough to give them what you have to give them. And then there's the fear of the unknown, xenophobia. Yes, they even have a name for it, xenophobia. That's the fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're afraid. Why are you afraid? Because you're supposed to be afraid. What? You're supposed to be afraid? I watch for the last 10 years, for the last decade plus, I've watched speakers, all types of speakers on stage, professional speakers. I've watched those that are giving speeches for the first time. And the only thing that I see that ties them together as far as fear is the fear of the unknown. No one can predict the unknown. Is the mics going to go out? Is the lights going to go out? Are you going to forget your lines? Excuse me. Things like that. Fear of the unknown is something that you should not even put into your vocabulary. Xenophobia should only exist in the dictionary. Okay? So let's move on to the next slide. The fear of public speaking. Sometimes something can happen to you early in school. This gentleman was telling his story about how growing up, in school, he had some problems learning. He had some learning disabilities, which translated into his behavior being subject to detention, getting bad grades. And they put him into they said he had ADD, ADHD, whatever it is. They put him into a class for slow kids, okay? And he basically sat in a cubicle. The teacher came by, every now and then to make sure he was coloring in the lines or whatever it was. And that became his schooling, if you will, because he was considered to be a troubled child, couldn't learn. Well, break time came, lunchtime came. He did not have the opportunity to learn or become friends with any of the kids. And he felt ashamed that he didn't know them. He felt scared that they all knew each other, but he didn't know them. They didn't know him. And that translated to him just getting his food, going into the bathroom, eating his lunch, and then going back to that little cubicle he had to go to. Thus, he grew up into an adult, and he was afraid to speak in public. So sometimes the things that we go through in life, our education, even the way we were reared, the way teachers talk to us, can definitely affect your fear of public speaking. To me, fear has only two meanings. These are acronyms, FEAR, forget everything and run. That's one thing that you can do or you might want to do. Forget everything and just run. Or fear, FEAR, can mean face everything and rise. Okay? Another popular definition is false evidence appearing real. I don't like to use that one. I like to use face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. That's what fear means to me. Having no fear, basically. We talked a little bit about the fear of judgment. I wanted to come back to this because this is very, very real. When you're standing there in front of people that you don't know and you have to speak and you actually really care about what they're going to say or how you're going to be perceived, the fear of judgment can be a real thing. The fear of judgment, the fear of speaking in public, how you're going to be judged, can actually close you up from speaking. Okay. However, speaking is just like working out in the gym. The more you lift weights, lift those barbells, lift those dumbbells, your muscles get bigger, right? And you get better at it. Your muscles get bigger, you get more physically fit. The same things happen when you speak. Just keep speaking. Keep speaking. You'll get better at it. And when you get better at it, your confidence grows. Your confidence goes through the roof. And you no longer care at that point about fear of being judged. You realize that you have something to do, something to say, something to share, and you're going to do what you need to do no matter what. So the fear of judgment is something that can stop you, but it should not stop you. Now, fear and anxiety. Let's talk a little bit about that. We have fear, we have anxiety. We talked a little bit about it earlier. What does it really feel like? What happens to your body when you're afraid? The cold sweat. Your hands feel clammy, but they're wet. They're cold and sweaty. You start feeling faint, like you could pass out at any moment. Some people have said that the butterflies in their stomachs make them feel nauseous. Some people actually have thrown up because they were so afraid of speaking. And then there's paralysis. When you can't move, you can't think, you can't do anything, your whole body shuts down. That's a real thing. These are some of the physical attributes that you can experience when you are afraid. So how can you overcome them? Again, try taking several deep breaths. Close your mind of all negative images. Put those past bad experiences behind you where they are. They should be in the past, and replace those negative images with images of doing a great job presenting your speech and how good you're going to feel after it's over. Hear the applause at the end of the speech. You should be having that ending in mind, that feeling of appreciation and just being able to do what you need to do. Keep that feeling in mind. That's what you're aiming for. At this point, I have one more slide to share with you. Speaking in public, let's put it into perspective, okay? It's not brain surgery, okay? It's nothing that you need to be afraid of. Are your loved ones in good health? Do you have food, clothing, shelter? Then that's what matters, okay? Speaking in public, it doesn't hold a candle to any of these things. Your loved ones being secure in good health, you having food, clothing, and shelter. Everybody is taken care of. All your loved ones are well. But stage fright is part of the territory of performing. Now, I don't care if you are a pianist, a musician, a rapper, if you are doing social media videos, or if you are being interviewed on a talk show. Stage fright is all a part of the territory. So I hope some of these tips have helped you. We're going to take a little break right here. And when we come back, we're going to continue on with what are you afraid of? How to overcome stage fright when speaking in public. This is Born to Speak to You, and I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. We'll see you in 60 seconds. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today we have been talking about what are you afraid of? How to put stage fright in its proper perspective as far as public speaking. So we've gone over a lot of slides so far. We talked about the physical attributes that happen when you are afraid. We talked about what that they feel like and why you might even be afraid, what circumstances you might be afraid in. Here's something that can help you overcome your fear. Preparation. Preparation. I mentioned this earlier, but try to memorize and then re-memorize and then memorize again and again and again. Only knowing the topic as if you actually wrote it can save you, okay? A lot of times, experts will get up there and they will talk about whatever they need to talk about, whatever the topic is, but they are experts in the field. They can not only speak on it, they can answer questions, and their fear factor, the amount of the fear that they have, will minimize greatly because they have learned what they're talking about. So preparation is a big part of being prepared. Even if you have to do a 5 to 7 minute speech, for that 5 to 7 minutes, memorize. Know your opening of the speech. Know that down cold. Know your 3 points, the things you're going to talk about in the middle that's going to substantiate your opening statement. In the hamburger technique, those are your lettuce, tomato, and your lettuce, cheese, and tomato, and your meat, okay? And then close it, your summary, your conclusion. That's going to be your bottom bun. And once you know that, and it's only a 5 to 7 minutes, and 5 to 7 minutes go very quickly, trust me on this, you are then prepared to kick fear in the butt and move it out of your life. Okay? So let's move on with the next slide. I am now going to share with you what I call my 6 golden rules for conquering speaking anxiety. Okay? These are my 6 golden rules for conquering speech anxiety. And we are going to go through rule number 1, and that's practice, rehearse, and then trust yourself. Practice, rehearse, and then trust yourself. That's the first golden rule. Do not ever downplay the importance of practice. You have to practice, Okay. Practice makes perfect, as they say. And practice is the second level of the three P's: preparation, practice, and then performance or presentation. Okay. When I was working in the theater, both as an actor and a director or producer, practice was something that was invaluable. For me as an actor, it was a chance to not only understand the scenes that I was in better, but to collaborate with my fellow actors and see how we could play off of each other. Okay. You can't do that at home by yourself, but you can do it during rehearsals. So you practice, you rehearse, and then you trust yourself that you have done enough work. You got this, and you go out and you do it to the best of your ability. There's always Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. But if you practice, you give yourself so much better advantage to overcoming Murphy's Law and feeling better about the fear, putting it in its right component. So, our second golden rule is live in the moment. Live in the moment. Don't worry about what's going on uh, in the audience. Don't worry about how you look, how you sound, whatever. Live in the moment. Don't be in the audience. Be on the stage. Okay. Don't be a receiver. Be a giver. You have a message, and somebody out there needs to hear your message. So this is the time when you get to live in the moment. Like right now, I can speak with confidence because I am hoping to change somebody's life. Somebody out there is going to see this and going to say, yes, I have been afraid to speak in public. And now Calvin is telling me that I need to live in the moment, put fear in its right component. And that's what it's all about. So golden rule number 2, live in the moment. Once you get out there, you feel the lights, you see the crowd, you see the audience, make that rapport with the audience, make that connection with them, and do the best that you can. Golden rule number 3, please only yourself. A big mistake that people do when speaking in public is they're trying to please somebody else. No, that's wrong. Please only yourself. Do the best job that you can do. Trust your process. Trust that people are going to receive your message. You'll be able to go out there, do what you have to do, and you will feel better about it. Please only yourself. Don't try to make people happy. Don't try to make people laugh. Don't try. Just please yourself. If you can walk off that stage with applause, without applause, and say, I gave it all I had, I left it all out there on the stage, then you've done your job. Please only yourself. You know, there's always going to be someone that's not going to get it all the way. There's always going to be somebody that is not going to enjoy your message. There's always going to be somebody that's not going to like you, maybe for the way you look, the way you sound, your message, whatever the case is. Don't let that cause you to be fearful. Leave that where it needs to be at in back of you and work to please only yourself. Golden rule number 4, be in the giving mode. And I mentioned that earlier. Be in the giving mode. Don't look to receive anything as you're presenting. Okay? Try to give them the words that you need to give them. Okay, if it's a motivational speech, you're trying to uplift someone. If it's a humorous speech, you're trying to drive in the humor part of your story. If it is informational, you're trying to give them information. Okay, but be in the giving mode. If you get anything back at the end, that's a cherry on top. That's great. You should always expect to do a good job, but also expect to be in the giving mode. Also, when you are giving to your audience, they will feel that you're not talking at them, that you're talking to them. That's what you always want to do. You want to not talk at them. You want to talk to them. Have a conversation. Transfer the knowledge that you have to them so that they can understand, so that they can use it, so that they can appreciate what you just gave them. So always be in the giving mode. Golden rule number 5. Focus only on one aspect of your presentation. This is something I learned the hard way. Trying to always make sure I get this right, I get that right, I get that right. Well, you do have to concern yourself with different aspects of your speech. Okay. Before I talked about the hamburger technique and your opening and your closing, and then in the middle, your 3 points. But suppose during your rehearsal, your practice, you kept messing up on point number 2. Then focus only on point number 2. Make sure you nail point number 2. Okay. You already got number 1. You already got number 3. You got your opening. You got your closing. Focus on where the focus needs to be. Okay. Focus on only one aspect of your presentation. Maybe you want to focus on your stage presence. Focus on that. Work the stage. Work your speaking space. Maybe you want to focus on the aspect of humor. Then work on injecting humor into your presentation. See where certain humorous points land by the audience reaction. See what works, what doesn't work, but focus only on one aspect of your presentation. Once you've nailed that and you give the presentation again, if there's something else you want to work on, then work on that. Okay? Focus on only one aspect of your presentation. Golden rule number 6. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Don't let fear stop you from enjoying yourself. When you enjoy yourself, it shows. When you enjoy yourself, people can pick up on it. They'll have a good time as well. Everybody will be vibing together. You'll have a good time. They'll have a good time. And it's a good chance that they will remember you and your message that you have been so generously giving to them, because you decided that this was not going to be brain surgery. In the big scheme of life, everybody was okay. You're here to give something to this audience for X amount of time, and you're going to have a good time with it. Another thing that I would like to add with enjoy yourself, have the ability or find the ability to laugh at yourself. One of my mentors told me early on, Calvin, you have to be able to laugh at yourself. I've watched her stumble through many garment mishaps, faux pas, as they call them. And every time she just laughed, I sometimes thought maybe those were staged to give the opportunity for her to laugh at herself. Not only that, but the audience to kind of snicker as well. but enjoy yourself and learn to laugh with yourself and enjoy the experience. Those are my 6 golden. Oh, there's one more thing that goes with rule number 6. I like to give God the glory. When it's over, when I have done what I need to do, I like to just say a prayer. Thank you, Lord, for getting me through it. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. Give God the glory. Yes, yes, because I believe that we all have talents and we all have a story to tell as well. And when you are able to tell that story, you're using the talents that have been given to you, the process of thinking, the process of remembering, the process of putting things in an organizational manner and giving it, sharing it with other people. That's what I believe we are born for. We all have that task. So always give God the glory. We're going to take a short break right here, and we'll be right back with Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today we're talking about overcoming stage fright, the fear of public speaking, right here on Born to Speak to You TV. See you in 60 seconds. Hi, this is Calvin Gibbs with Born to Speak to You TV, and here's your Born to Rise tip for today. You're not stuck. You're just committed to certain patterns of behavior that in the past may have worked for you. But guess what? You've grown past those patterns of behavior. Now they're more harmful than they are helpful. And the reason that you can't move forward is because you keep applying an old formula to a new level in your life. That old formula, that is for where you were, but you've moved on to another level, and it's time to have a new formula, a new solution. So change the formula and get a different result. If you keep doing what you did when you were there, it's not going to work out. You've moved on to another level, change the formula, and step into your purpose. You were born to rise.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. And man, we've had a great time today. I shared my workshop slides with you on understanding fear. What are you afraid of? The fear of public speaking. We talked about understanding fear and the physical and psychological reactions that we all have to fear. We talked about the heart pounding. We talked about the shaky hands or the shaky voices, the dry mouth, the wanting to run. And how about the blanking out? Just forgetting where you are, what you have to say. Your mind goes totally blank. We talked about all of that. And then we talked about why fear doesn't help, why fear creates a self-fulfilling failure. We talked about the truths about fear makes you focus on yourself rather than focus on your message or your audience. That's always where your focus should be. Fear shrinks your confidence. It limits your expression, your ability to be expressive. It wastes energies that you could be using to connect. So put fear in its right spot, because fear whispers that you're not ready. But courage is doing it anyway. Even if you are fearful, even if you are afraid, Do it anyway. And then we talked about ways to lessen fear, okay? How to use techniques that worked. We talked about the breathing techniques, exhaling for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, and then, inhaling for 4 seconds, and then holding it for 4 seconds, and then exhaling, blowing it out for 4 seconds. This will reset your nervous system. It allow your heartbeat to slow down. We talked about reframing your mindset. Instead of saying, I can't do it, I'm fearful, I'm nervous, say, I'm excited. Okay, I'm excited. I want to do this. Replace fear with purpose. I'm here to share something valuable. I'm going to do something that's necessary. Visualize your success. See yourself walking confidently, speaking clearly, and smiling at your audience. Make it an experience, as I like to say. Practice aloud. Never practice by reading to yourself. Practice by actually saying the words. Hopefully in front of a mirror. Hopefully where you can see yourself and use your facial expressions, your hand gestures, your body movements. Visualize yourself in front of the audience. Focus on one friendly face. Find a face in the audience that you can talk to. Somebody that may be nodding, or sometimes from the stage, here's a little secret. If you as a speaker will nod, somebody will nod. That's the person you want to focus on, the person that responded. And you talk to them and you focus on them until you feel confident enough to spread your vision to other parts of the audience and other people. Okay. Another trick, try to talk to a general area instead of directly at one person. If you don't want to, not to the point of making eye contact, then don't. Focus on an area instead. The people in that area from the stage, they will all feel like you're looking at them. Okay, although you're looking at a general area. And another thing that you want to do is ground yourself physically. Okay, you don't want to be nervously moving around or shaking your legs or hands in the pocket. Put your feet on the floor. Okay, put your shoulders back, roll your shoulders, stand tall, fix your posture, and then present. And I did tell you about my personal story in Toastmasters, how I learned that people want you to succeed. Nobody is generally going to laugh because you did a bad job. No one's going to talk about you because you didn't know. Every time you make a mistake, that's a learning experience for you. That's a lesson that you can take back with you, work on for next time, and focus on not letting that happen again. Again, all of the challenges that I had with dealing with fear, if I had let them win me over, if I had let them beat me, then Born to Speak to You TV would not even exist today. Fear tried to stop me, but speaking freed me. So here's a challenge for you. This week, I challenge you to share your voice in a meeting, in a conversation, even in front of a mirror. Just speak, because you were born to speak to you. Okay? Fear of speaking doesn't mean that you can't speak. It means that you're alive, you're passionate. It means you care. So the next time your heart beats faster, don't fight it. Just breathe, smile, speak anyway, because someone out there needs to hear what you have to say. And if you want to contact me, then you can reach me by email at borntospeak2you@email or gmail.com. gmail.com is scrolling by the screen right now, born to speak to you at gmail.com. I also have email.com. You can write to me there. And I would love to hear your thoughts about the show, what you like, what you didn't like, some ideas for the future. Maybe you want to be a guest on the show. Let's hook up and talk about it. I also want to thank DFN Broadcast Studios for this opportunity to be on their network, to be the host of this show and bring this show to you. Well, and we also have a QR code that you can scan right there in the top corner of your screen. You can scan that QR code, and it will take you to Born to Speak to You YouTube page, where you can definitely watch all episodes of Born to Speak to You TV right there on our YouTube channel. Well, that's about all, y'all, for this episode of Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and it's always imparting that we say, let's speak life into the moments that matter. We'll see you at the next episode.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak to you. He's got that rhythm in his truth, that fire in his flow, speaking life into the moment, watch it grow. Every phrase, every beat, a breakthrough cue. Yeah, he was born to speak to you.